Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Ballava Girivaradari Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Sutarata Sisi Maris Divine Grace Sisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder charges Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Sutarata Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananti Koti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Namachara Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gauda Premananda Haribo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tatodayam Udirayat Nasta Praeshu Abhidreshu Nicham Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. So reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We're on text number 14, chapter 28. Lasat-paṅkaja-kiñjalka pīta-kauśeya-vāsasam śrīvatsa-vakṣasaṁ bhrājat kaustubhāmukta-kandharam lasat-paṅkaja-kiñjalka pīta-kauśeya-vāsasam śrīvatsa-vakṣasaṁ bhrājat kaustubhāmukta-kandharam lasat-paṅkaja-kiñjalka lasat-paṅkaja-kiñjalka pīta-kauśeya-vāsasam śrīvatsa-vakṣasaṁ bhrājat kaustubhāmukta-kandharam lasat-paṅkaja-kiñjalka pīta-kauśeya-vāsasam śrīvatsa-vakṣasaṁ bhrājat kaustubhāmukta-kandharam. Pīta-kauśeya-vāsasam kaustubhāmukta-kandharam lasat-paṅkaja-kiñjalka pīta-kauśeya-vāsasam śrīvatsa-vakṣasaṁ bhrājat kaustubhāmukta-kandharam. Matajis. lasat-paṅkaja-kiñjalka pīta-kauśeya-vāsasam śrīvatsa-vakṣasaṁ bhrājat kaustubhāmukta-kandharam. Lasat, shining, paṅkaja, of a lotus, kiñjalka, filaments, pīta, yellow, kauśeya, silk cloth, vāsasam, whose garment, śrīvatsa, bearing the mark of śrīvatsa, vakṣasam, breast, bhrājat, brilliant, kaustubha, kaustubha gem, āmukta, put on, kandharam, his neck. Translation purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. His loins are covered by a shining cloth, yellowish like the filaments of a lotus. On his breast he bears the mark of śrīvatsa, a curl of white hair. The brilliant Kaustubha gem is suspended from his neck. Purport. The exact color of the garment of the Supreme Lord is described as saffron-yellow, just like the pollen of a lotus flower. The Kaustubha gem hanging on his chest is also described. His neck is beautifully decorated with jewels and pearls. The Lord is full in 6 opulences, one of which is wealth. He is very richly dressed with valuable jewels which are not visible within this material world. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Panchakalpa Tubhasya Kripa Sindhavevata, Paritana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so it's a very interesting verse today, and verses that are going to be following. Previously, we've heard about the practice of Ashtanga Yoga by Kardama Muni. And there were so many things that he did in order to develop self-realization. The asanas, breathing exercises, so many other things that he did, so many austerities, and for tens of thousands of, not for millions of years, to become self-realized. And Prabhupada says that the Ashtanga Yoga is a part of Vaishnava culture because it's the goal of Ashtanga Yoga is Krishna, Vishnu. So it's an authorized process for development of self-realization. So in that process, the goal is Vishnu, as we're saying. So herein, Kapila Muni is speaking to his mother, and now he's going to tell her about Vishnu, who Vishnu is, what he looks like, what he likes, and what he does. So in this particular portion, it becomes very detailed as to who the Supreme Personality of Godhead actually is. So it gets very interesting. So for millions of years of I think it was millions of years, right? Thousands at least, yeah, thousands of years. And finally now we come to this conclusion of who Krishna actually is. So, it's described Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha, Anadi Adya Govinda, Sarva Karanam Karanam. It says that Krishna is known as Govinda. Yes, Govinda is the Supreme Godhead. He's the origin of all, everything. There's no other origin but Govinda. And it says also that he's full of the 6 opulences. So here, we're reading about one of those opulences. The other ones are like knowledge, wealth, fame, renunciation, what else is there? Strength, right? And beauty, yes. So basically, in the verses coming, those topics will be discussed. The beauty, the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we see that he's also called Bhagavan. Bhagavan means that Krishna is full, the controller of all opulence, fully in control. Bhagavan, when you say Bhagavan, powerful, very much in control of all the opulences. But there's an interesting one also, where Krishna is the most renounced. I thought that was pretty particular. Like, Krishna, what's he renounced? Why would he renounce anything? So I looked into it, and what Prabhupada described as Krishna's renunciation is the material world. He has no attraction for this material world, so he just renounces it. He has there's nothing here that he wants. Of course, his pure devotees are very dear to him, but he's not attracted. There's no attraction for him in this material world. He's actually very much attracted to spiritual world, to activities of spiritual life, to the devotees. So it was interesting how to understand how Krishna is renounced. And we're in this material world. You can see what Krishna renounces, we want to try to enjoy. And this is our problem. This is the difficulty that we have. But as we go on here, there's interesting how is it that we can understand what Krishna is and what he wants. So I was reading, and there Prabhupada gave a formula, kind of like a step-by-step formula of how to develop an attraction for hearing the messages of Krishna. And one of those is that one has to be actually very sincere and eager to hear. That's one of the qualifications. If we're eager to hear and we're sincerely trying to hear, That's a step forward in understanding who Krishna is. Another one is that we have to become connected with a pure devotee of the Lord, an acharya, one who's in a bona fide disciplic succession. That's also part of the formula. And we have Srila Prabhupada. And then the other one is that a devotee can't be overcome by material desires. If we have too many material desires, it's very difficult to understand here about Krishna, and he's got this cute little curl of white hair that comes out of him that distinguishes him. It's so precise. If we're very materially absorbed, very difficult to understand that. You're telling me that God has a little white hair, and he's the only one that has it. No one else has it. It's something that's very unusual. But we can actually understand this better if we follow that particular formula of enthusiastically and seriously have eager and sincere desire to want to hear. And that we connect ourselves with a bona fide spiritual master, an acharya. That's Srila Prabhupada. He gave us so much information here in Krishna consciousness. And we can see that by his association. There's two ways to associate: the vapu, the body, and the vani, the instruction. So Prabhupada's no longer here presently, so the vapu we can't associate. But we can associate with the vani. That's the association of a pure devotee. And by that association, we actually become purified. Just by hearing Srila Prabhupada, we actually become purified. And then we can understand something of this particular magnitude that we're reading in today. So by the association of that pure devotee, we actually develop the art of submissive hearing. That's very important, submissive hearing. It's just like you're trying to train a dog. You take a dog. If you've ever had a dog, what do? You make him hear submissively. You make him submissive hearing you. Come over here, sit down. It's like a dog, that's what you do. Or a cat, whatever. You tell him, sit down over here, be quiet. Don't move. If that dog hears you properly, what does he do? He doesn't move. And it takes training. So this field that we're in here is the training ground. We're very dull-brained. We're very rebellious. We really want to be independent. So for us to actually hear is pretty amazing. And you can experience that like that in our everyday life. Sometimes, you have to, if you're in a department and you're working, you tell a devotee, do it like this. And then you come back an hour later and it's not like that. You can say, put the cap on the honey. You come back and then somebody left the cap off. What does that mean? They're not hearing. they're not being submissive. They're not hearing. And this is the plight of the conditioned soul in the material world. That's what makes us disqualified for understanding these activities and pastimes of Krishna. That's our disqualification. So, when these conditions are all fulfilled, though, if we are very sincere and eager to hear, if we're submissive, if those qualifications are there within that individual, then one can easily understand the transcendental nature of the Lord and his activities, his fame, his appearance, disappearance, his power, wealth, fame, distinction. All those things can be understood by a devotee immediately, practically, just by being submissive and hearing properly. And that's why we have the Bhagavatam class. The Bhagavatam class is for us to constantly hear the message given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And we see that that Bani that Prabhupada has given us is non-different from him. He's even said that Prabhupada made those statements when he was present. That it's more important to, actually he did say, it's more important to understand the Bani than to have the Vapu. Because the Vapu you can become illusioned. Oh, is he really? Is that what he really is? You can become materially tinged. Oh, Prabhupada, why did he do this? Yeah, you can become mental. But the Vani is very straightforward. It tells it like it is. And so we have to develop and become expert listeners and hear properly the messages. And then we can become qualified to understand the pastimes of the Lord. And when we read things of this caliber, it helps us become more faithful in our Krishna consciousness. And Krishna, it can't be understood unless it's like devotional service. What's that? Bhaktyamam avijananti yavan yasasmi tatvato jnanam, right? Tatvat, yes. Visate, yes. Tat anantaram. So, Krishna says that he could only be known or understood as he is, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by full consciousness with him, about him, by devotion only. And then one can enter into the kingdom of God. That's the qualification. And that's what the goal is. We're here because we want to go back home, back to Godhead. We want to get out of this material world. But Krishna is also, he has the right, naham prakasa sarvasya, he has the right not to reveal himself to everybody. He can do that as he wishes, as he desires. He's going to reveal himself to who he is and what he is. And when he does, then devotional service is very elaborately ingrained within the living entity. It's there within. It's injected, and it's very serious and very powerful. And then we come under the protection of the Supreme Lord and the spiritual master. We come under that protection. It's a dual protection measure. You become protected by the instruction of the Guru, and you become protected by Krishna because you're performing devotional service. So that's our protection. And so we see here, trying to understand this verse and how it refers to us in our daily lives. Because if you know about Krishna and you hear about Krishna, you'll go to Krishna. That's the point. That's actually the real essence of it. And Prabhupada has described that Krishna is like the sun. And this material mental speculation is like the darkest midnight. It's dark. If you've ever been in a forest, I remember I used to go camping with the Prabhus at the Denver Temple up in the Rocky Mountains. And it would get so dark, you couldn't practically see right in front of you. You couldn't see anything. It was so dark. And we always waited for the sun to come up. And when the sun came up, then you saw so many things. You saw the trees, you saw the birds, you saw the animals, you see the water, you saw everything. At midnight, you couldn't distinguish anything. You could fall in a deep ditch and get killed. But the minute the sun comes up, it's very refreshing. Immediately you become enthusiastic to do things, to be active. So Krishna is like the sun. Yes, he's like the sun in our heart. And then he releases you from that dark, material, midnight mental speculation. We can rid ourselves from that. So we see that by Bhakti Yoga, that's the result of Bhakti Yoga. You let Krishna come into your heart, and you let Krishna give you the inspiration to go on and become a nice devotee. Svavasa chaham ridi sanibhistomataasmitir jnanamaponam cha. Krishna is in the heart. He gives us remembrance, he gives us knowledge, and he also gives us forgetfulness. If you want to forget, that's your desire, you can forget. Krishna will help you forget, and you'll just go into oblivion. But if you want to actually know Krishna, he'll give you the intelligence, how to move forward and to know who he is and what his activities are. So this is very important, because really in Krishna consciousness, if we don't live our life according to regulation and a format, we could get lost very easy. We can forget very easy. That's the nature of this material world. It's a very dark place. You see so many devotees that have come for some time, and they try to become devotees. They try very hard. But somehow or other, they get carried away. They lose their enthusiasm, and they lose their desire to perform devotional service. And they just fade away. And you don't know what happens to them. They just disappear. So for us, hearing constantly, those of us that are here, is extremely important. And if we do that, then Krishna shows us special favor. Tesam evanukampartam aham agyana jantama nasam yatma bhavasto jnana dipena bhaspataha. He says, Krishna says, I dwelling in their hearts. So Krishna's there, as we said, like a super soul. He's in our heart, and he destroys this darkness of ignorance, which is very, very deep. It's very, very deep. And it's very difficult to get rid of. But with the shining lamp of knowledge, he gets rid of this darkness of ignorance. That's what Krishna says. He tells us that. And if we listen properly and we follow the formula by hearing enthusiastically, by worshiping and serving the Guru, the Acharya, and not becoming too materially engrossed, attached, that's the perfect formula for understanding the science of Krishna consciousness. And we're reading so many wonderful things about Krishna. This particular verse is so beautiful. And we see that for us, how do we understand that? That's really important. And Krishna says, Atashi Krishna namadhi na bhavedgaram indriya seva mukhi jvado swayam eva spurat yada. Yes, we can understand Krishna properly, by this activity of chanting and taking prasadam. Isn't that amazing? How simple can you get? Just by utilizing the tongue in chanting the holy name and taking Krishna prasadam, one can understand Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. And we should honor prasadam. Not that it's just something that we eat and put in your belly, but we should honor Krishna prasadam, because that's one of the principles of advancement in Krishna consciousness. And what to speak of chanting, 16 rounds daily, extremely important. Sometimes I find it really a sad situation that you see some senior devotees and they're not chanting anymore. They're not chanting their rounds. To me, that's just phenomenal. I don't understand how that can go on. And how is it that they can function, how they can go on. So we see because of this material association, we get covered over, just like the mind is covered over, the heart is covered over by the dust of material association, material attraction. We forget who we are. I think Papa gives the example of like a mirror with dust on it. If you look in the mirror that has a lot of dust, you can't make out who you are, your form. You can't really tell. You know there's something there, but you don't know what it is. So you take a cloth and you wipe off the dust from the mirror, and you see your reflection. So that's the science of Krishna consciousness. By chanting properly, taking Krishna prasadam, it clears off this dust of millions and millions of births in the material world. And you wipe away that dust, and then you can look in the mirror and see yourself, who you really are. Then you can see that you're a spirit soul. And that's what Krishna consciousness, that's the end game. That's the result of everything that we do here. That we see that we're actually a spirit soul. Then we can see a verse like this, and we can become enthusiastic. Wow, Krishna is so beautiful. He has a śrīvatsa here. And he's the most powerful, beautiful person. He likes to wear a certain kind of dhoti, certain kind of color. Everything is perfect. And you can see that when we become attracted, then you can take a look at Shishi Rukmini Dwakadish, and you can see how beautiful the devotees are dressed in Rukmini Dwakadish, or Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra, Gaurnitai. They're trying to make Krishna look beautiful, and they're doing it from their desire, from their heart. And we get inspired by that. it clears up so many things in our life, that there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And He can actually save us if we want. If we want, but we have to want. We have to be enthusiastic. And not to worry. Naha Bikramana Sostri Pratyavayo na Vijate Swapam Apunya Dharmasya. What is that? Traite Mahato Bhrājat. Right? Traite Mahato Bhrājat. Yeah. It says that, that in this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. There's no loss in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada gives the example like, if someone is in Krishna consciousness and they do 1% for Krishna, 1% of their life is actually given to Krishna. And if they don't see it through, if they stop, still, in the next birth, you go to 2%. You don't lose it, whatever you've done. So whatever we've done at this point in our life, in Krishna consciousness, there's no diminution. It's no loss. It's there. It's there forever until you decide to enter the Krishna consciousness. So it's there. So whatever we've done, no matter how little or how big it may be. But the real thing though too is that in Krishna consciousness, acting for the benefit of Krishna without wanting anything in return or any kind of sense gratification, that's the highest activity of life. You cannot do anything higher in this life than to serve Krishna with no desire. I don't want any remuneration from Krishna. All I want to do is serve Him. I just want to be His humble, menial servant. Prabhupada says that is the highest benefit, the highest platform of devotional service. And that's really what we're trying to learn in Krishna consciousness. And if we do that, then we really are excited about Krishna, working for Krishna. And these things have a permanent effect. So, when I was thinking about this verse, I was thinking about these particular items. Yes. Prabhupada Prabhu.
Thank you, Svavasa Prabhu. I agree with everything you said, and I think you did a good job of saying it. So I'd like to ask your permission to ask a difficult question. But if you're not up for it, then it's okay?
Go ahead.
All right. So at least on one occasion, Prabhupada said in a letter, it was a 1966 letter, I think it was to Brahmananda, he said, made the point that his spiritual master left prematurely because he was disgusted by his disciples. Actually, backing up, even before that, Lochan Das Thakur, one of, whose disappearance day was about a week or two ago, in his song, he says, he refers to Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda as Parama Karuna, supremely merciful. So you have that idea that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are supremely merciful, but yet, Prabhupada said about his spiritual master that he was disgusted by his neophyte disciples, and that was part of the reason why he left early. And even to this day, we see that, it's hard to get people to become devotees. Yeah. And even people become devotees, they have a tough time being successful at being devotees. Yeah. So how do we understand this? How do we understand that somebody like Bhaktisiddhanta wasn't able to elevate his disciples, he got disgusted that they were neophytes and he left, rather than preach to them and elevate them. And even in this day, we see it's so hard for people to become devotees. And even people become devotees and it's hard for them to be successful. So how do we understand that?
Well, I think there's several things. First, there's just different classes of devotees. There's the first class, second class, third class devotee. A third class devotee probably is one who has still a lot of material desires, even though they're hearing the messages of the spiritual master and the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Because they have so many material desires, they can't fully surrender to the instruction of the spiritual master. Although they're devotees, they're serving, they're doing some service for Krishna. There's no loss there. But I think you're asking, why is the guru disturbed by that, you're saying?
Why don't we see the whole thing be more successful? I mean, Lord Chaitanya is so merciful, the process is so powerful, you have great, great devotees like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Prabhupada personally coming and preaching here in the world, and yet we see that, not a lot of people take to Krishna consciousness, and even among the ones who do, it seems like a lot of devotees struggle, and as you pointed out in your lecture, they stop chanting, they give it up, they fade away. So, how do we...
There's that verse, that in Kali Yuga, we are short-lived. What are we? Quarrelsome, misguided, unlucky, and above all, we're always disturbed. So, you may be a devotee living in a temple, but we still may be affected by all these particular items. And what can the spiritual master do? I mean, if you're always disturbed or you're materially inclined, what can the guru do? Except, shower some causeless mercy and let that devotee know that whatever you've done so far will never be forgotten by Krishna. And when you decide that you want to come back and really involve yourself purely, then you can begin from there again. But there's so many disqualifications in Kali Yuga. I know I have some of those, disqualifications.
In other words, unfortunate too is one of those things.
Yeah.
Mandabhagya, unfortunate.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta also said that spiritual teachings is a very difficult proposition in the material world.
Yeah.
So that's one. He also said that if I can have one moon, Ekas Chandra. So there are many things that the spiritual master said in different times.
Yes.
And like, sometimes we might think, oh, what's the use,
Yeah.
But no, it's there. It is difficult, but those who are willing to take it, the full mercy is there. So it's not expected that everyone was going to join. We will look at the whole world, it's like billions of people. How many are they interested in that?
Exactly.
So, we come to do our duty, the gurus come to do their teachings, and we know that this world is samsaradava, nalalita loka, it's like blazing fire. The guru comes here and pours the mercy, and whoever is ready takes that mercy.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
So I would say that, out of that, faith is the most important ingredient in devotional service, in Krishna consciousness. There's that, if I can remember, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita I read that faith is the complete conviction that simply by serving Krishna, all perfection is attained. That's real faith. So if a person has real conviction that they're going to stick it out, that is faith. And faith is very important in devotional service.
You know that verse, Yasha Devi Parabhaktir?
Say that?
You know the verse, Yasha Devi Parabhaktir?
I don't know the verse, no.
You know it?
Oh, I said, okay, that one, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I say you know that verse a lot. You usually call that too.
You want, I guess I can't hear you properly.
You always say, Yasha Deve Parabhaktir, Yasha Deve Tata Guru.
Yes. So yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so if we have material desires and still keeping on, on them, attached to them, but why Krishna is so powerful? He know about that. Why he didn't just clean them all, and he has this power to clean all these desires. Why he don't do that?
Well, I think
maybe
it's a
spiritual
process
master
of free will. Krishna doesn't want to take your free will away. He wants to give you your free will. So it's like you can't make someone love you. They have to voluntarily want to love you. So you can't force someone, or I guess you could, but that would be a pretty heavy-duty relationship. So it's all a matter of love. And it's also a matter of conviction and faith. It is. It's about faith. And I think all of us should really consider how we can improve our faith in Krishna and have that conviction that, serving Krishna is the end game, and that we can achieve perfection by it. Okay? Jai. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My leg.